Hey, it's Jordan with Status Quo. Hope you're doing well. CNN has reached a new low, if you think that's possible. I was icing my back this afternoon in bed, and around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I see Brooke Baldwin, a CNN anchor, set up a segment like she's about to bring on somebody very important who's about to give their endorsement for which Democratic candidate they support in the 2020 election. Let's take a look.
5 months roughly until the Iowa caucus, and 21 Democratic candidates are vying for the Democratic nomination. Some voters have decided that they have seen and heard enough and are now zeroing in on his or her top candidate. For Democratic strategist Danny Barefoot, his months of flirting with multiple candidates is over. After placing several Democrats in his top spot, Barefoot has decided he is now all in for Senator Elizabeth Warren. Barefoot making his choice Twitter official. This is what he wrote. After a bunch of thought, I've decided I'm throwing my support, money, and time behind Elizabeth Warren. I told myself I'd keep an open mind before making a choice this cycle, and I did. So with me to explain his choice, Danny Barefoot, a Democratic media strategist. Danny, nice to meet you. Nice to have you on.
Nice to see you as well, Brooke.
All right, so we read the Twitter thread, and you said at one point you had Kamala Harris or Kirsten Gillibrand or Pete Buttigieg in your top spots. So what made you go in on Senator Warren?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm from sort of the more moderate establishment wing of the party, and to be completely honest with you, Senator Warren wasn't in my sort of even top 3 spots at the start of this campaign, but I sort of went in with an open mind and watched the campaign unfold, and she's the only candidate bringing her A game, in my opinion. She's sort of checking off every box as far as I'm concerned. She's bringing the plans, bringing the proposals. She's also getting the politics right. She's going to areas like Kermit, West Virginia, and making the case directly to Trump voters that we need big structural change. And, it's sort of interesting. A lot of the times the folks that are in sort of the more progressive wing of the party aren't serious about actually building the party. They sort of are attacking it. And I was really, really heartened to see Senator Warren, she's building up the party. She's meeting with party leaders. She's getting energy. She's getting enthusiasm. And she's just the person that I have faith to take on Donald Trump next year.
But Danny, I'm going to get to electability in just a second, but quickly, was there one boom, aha, she's it moment, or was it a collective?
There wasn't. I sort of, like you mentioned, I flirted with all the candidates, and I sort of give myself a cooling off period. I'm like, all right, this is who I like this week. But, over the past 6 or 7 weeks, every week, Warren was kind of winning the week for me.
Yeah.
And for me, it's about hard work. I think a lot of...
Why in the world should we care who Danny Barefoot is endorsing? Again, Danny Barefoot. Trying to say that with a straight face. No relation to Bigfoot. Now, I'm sure Danny Barefoot is a kind gentleman. If you want his bio, he worked for Hillary Clinton's 2008 presidential campaign. If you want to know a little bit more about our friend Danny Barefoot, well, put Hillary Clinton into his wedding vows. This is not The Onion. This is a tweet from Danny Barefoot, who included Hillary Clinton in his wedding vows. And he's not just for Warren, he's very much against Bernie Sanders. Interesting that CNN's Brooke Baldwin didn't bring up his Bernie derangement. And if I had more time, I would read all the anti-Bernie tweets from this gentleman over the years.
I also want to mention that Brooke Baldwin, being the journalist that she is, repeatedly referenced this Twitter thread. She's like, and I looked at your Twitter thread. So this is part of that Twitter thread that she was referencing. And part of his reasons for supporting Elizabeth Warren, he said, I've had my doubts about her. I was flabbergasted when she refused to participate in traditional fundraising. But she put together a massive money infrastructure in the face of daunting odds. How much of an establishment Democrat do you have to be to the reason you won't support someone is because they will not accept corporate cash.
What's so interesting here is not that this guy is endorsing Elizabeth Warren. As you can see, the establishment, the Democratic establishment, has totally coalesced around Elizabeth Warren. Kamala Harris hasn't been sticking. Her poll numbers are still low single digits. In a good poll, 10 to 12%, but recently all single digits. Pete Buttigieg polling at 0% among African Americans. You cannot win a Democratic nomination polling 0% among African Americans. So they need somebody. And obviously, when you look at former Vice President Joe Biden, he could barely construct a sentence right now. As I've been saying, and I've been reporting, and other reporters should be reporting, he's clearly not having gaffes. He's clearly having cognitive issues, cognitive decline. I don't say that with any joy. I don't say it to mock Joe Biden. It's clear anyone with eyes who's being honest and isn't afraid, if you're a journalist, to lose access to the Joe Biden campaign would say he's clearly not well cognitively. I'm not diagnosing him. I'm not a doctor. But all you got to do, he forgets where he is. He forgets, he's losing his memory, and he's stuttering over words, as I've shown you over and over again. We should report what we see with our own eyes. With that said, CNN, the really, really dangerous part about this is they are searching for pieces to fit into their puzzle. And their puzzle right now is, how do we push a narrative that Elizabeth Warren is the it girl? How do we push a narrative that Elizabeth Warren is the candidate with the mojo? How do we push a narrative that Bernie's so 2016? Well, we just search Twitter and we search for rando Democratic strategists that we've never heard of. And, oh, this person says after thoughtful consideration, I'm going for Elizabeth Warren. Pick up the phone, then let's craft a segment around this person basically portraying him and what his endorsement is as important, and then give a full 5 minutes of a free national television advertisement for Elizabeth Warren.
Absolutely. He wasn't pressed on anything. It was literally, he got to go on for almost 5 minutes and say whatever he wanted in praise of his candidate. It was bizarre. And actually, you mentioned kind of you think maybe a producer saw it and plucked him up for the day and, to fill a spot. I actually think it's more nefarious than that, because it seems like there's a shift in the media in general this week, last week, where you're right. You mentioned this earlier. They're trying to paint Elizabeth Warren as the acceptable establishment candidate. I think they know that Joe Biden is not long for this world, or at least some people might realize that. And so they're trying to get someone else who is, good enough, I guess, to fill that spot. So I think they're trying to pivot in that direction anyway,
right.
With Elizabeth.
What CNN just did is not only a free national television advertisement for Elizabeth Warren, but if you want to look to the letter of the law, it's also could be classified as an in-kind campaign contribution. An in-kind campaign contribution is a non-connected committee may donate goods or services to candidates and their committees. Gifts of goods or services are called in-kind contributions. For example, a committee makes an in-kind contribution when it pays for consulting, polling, or printing services provided to a candidate committee, donates office supplies or mailing lists to a campaign, sponsors a fundraising event benefiting a campaign, or pays for a campaign advertisement on behalf of a candidate. Well, I would say, what would a normal 5-minute advertisement, not that CNN's commercials are 5 minutes, what would a 5-minute advertisement cost on CNN in the commercials between segments? I'd say that would be worth probably thousands of dollars. Well, CNN just did a 5-minute advertisement for Elizabeth Warren with somebody of no news value. Now, if, let's say, James Carville, a very well-known national political strategist, was endorsing Elizabeth Warren, I could see them bringing on James Carville to talk about that. Let's say Donna Brazile was endorsing Elizabeth Warren. She's well-known to viewers and political people with political interest. I could see that. But bringing in some random guy on Twitter with 6,000 followers, I'm sorry. It is literally bringing on somebody for the purposes of giving Elizabeth Warren a free advertisement. By the way, for the record, I'd be very against this if it was if the roles were reversed and this was them bringing on, I don't know, some rando strategist for Bernie Sanders. It is not news. It is propaganda. And by the way, CNN not mentioning that this person worked for Hillary Clinton in 2008, that this person literally included Hillary Clinton in his wedding vows, that this person has asked for Bernie Sanders to drop out of the race. And I didn't play you this part. When asked by Brooke Baldwin, who would you pick as Elizabeth Warren's vice president, he picked Pete Buttigieg. Now, this is not meant in an offensive way, but it's important to note, this gentleman happens to be gay, married to a man, perfectly fine. So he is pushing for a gay person to be vice president, a gay person polling at 0% among African Americans. And this is a Democratic strategist. He wants Elizabeth Warren to pick somebody polling at 0% among African Americans when, by the way, Elizabeth Warren is not polling well among African Americans. Politically, if this guy is a strategist, don't hire him. He wants the presidential nominee to be somebody polling incredibly poorly right now among African Americans, and he wants her to pick a vice president who's polling incredibly poorly among African Americans. So this is Team Warren responding to Barefoot's very, very much fought after endorsement that has 138 retweets with welcome to Team Warren. So Elizabeth Warren's campaign is eating this up, completely eating it up. And what's interesting to me, now I'm starting to think this is nefarious, Jen, because Team Warren, wait a minute, Team Warren tweeted welcome to Team Warren at 12:45 in the afternoon. And then Barefoot is on in the 2 o'clock hour. So could it be that Team Warren is giving a tip to a CNN producer or booker? Hey, this guy might be good. We don't have any proof of that. I'm just speculating. I'm totally gossiping. But they did thank him right before he went on. And CNN brings him on as if his endorsement is important that people need to watch for the next 5 minutes.
Oh, he's not well known at all, but it's not like he's a nobody in the world of Democratic establishment people. You know, he has Philip Raines responding to his tweets, Adam Parkamenko, total Hillary people, Hillary staffers. So, and this was before he went on CNN and became famous. He has these former Hillary staffers responding to him. So it seems like he might be known in that world, and is not. That's part of what makes me think it's a little bit more nefarious than just a happenstance sort of thing.
It's embarrassing, and it's propaganda. And you know how this propaganda works, because the people watching CNN, which frankly are more towards the older demographic, well, it's CNN. So if they're saying this guy and who he's endorsing is important, maybe I should listen. This is why CNN continually propping up Elizabeth Warren for the last several weeks, which we showed you at the Detroit debate. We showed you that the police were blocking Bernie Sanders supporters from even entering the area where the supporters of candidates could stand there with their signs and cheer. We showed you that CNN's cameras were immediately cutting away when Bernie Sanders supporters would be shown on stage. In this area where candidate supporters were cheering. Not only that, they were cutting away from Bernie Sanders supporters, and they put Bernie Sanders supporters behind a mega CNN logo so that you wouldn't even see them anyway. If this isn't a concerted and coordinated political campaign against one candidate, I don't know what is. And of course, we know that this is not just CNN. The Washington Post has had a 5-year political jihad against Bernie Sanders. The New York Times is no friend to Bernie Sanders. But this takes it to another level, because you are basically plucking randos off of Twitter, taking their Twitter threads and making it news to prop up Elizabeth Warren. This is dangerous. It's not only dangerous if you believe in journalistic integrity, it's dangerous if you want to beat Donald Trump, because what you're doing is artificially inflating Elizabeth Warren's actual popularity. To be fair to her, she is rising in the polls. She does have momentum. She has had very large crowds. Sometimes campaigns stretch the numbers, but in benefit of the doubt, they say she had 15,000 in Seattle. They say she had 12,000 in Minnesota. That's fine. I think it's important for CNN and other outlets to note Bernie Sanders has gotten tens of thousands of people in his crowds routinely in 2016 and in 2020. They don't mention that. But what CNN is doing is artificially inflating Elizabeth Warren's value, and it's not organic. They are pushing, they are trying to craft a narrative where there's not the support for that narrative in the actual numbers. And honestly, might not make me any friends in the corporate media, might not get me or Status Quo invited on to CNN, definitely going to get us denied credentials again the next time CNN hosts a debate, but I don't give a flying beep. Don't want to be demonetized. Because we cannot, as Americans, in one breath talk about how dangerous Donald Trump is and how he's abandoning norms and how he's attacking journalism while ignoring when propaganda is masquerading as journalism to basically try and totally suffocate and demolish the candidate for the working class, and that's Bernie Sanders. Now, I don't think, some of you don't like that I say this, I don't think Elizabeth Warren is as bad as Joe Biden. I don't think she's as bad as Kamala Harris. I don't think she's Hillary Clinton. However, all you got to do is look at what she's doing. I just reported on the New York Times story that reported she's basically keeling over. She's sending text messages to Democratic Party elites. She's having hot tea meetings with members of the Democratic establishment. She's not doing it for her health, folks. She's doing it with a subtle but pretty direct, you do for me, I'll get you later if I'm elected president. That's how this works. And that's always been my problem with Elizabeth Warren. The talk is good. Her talk sounds progressive. She has had that class warrior kind of rhetoric before, going against the banks, this and that. But I follow your actions, not just your words. Her actions are someone who's not interested in changing the core rotten apple, which is the political structure of this country. And the political structure of this country is in part rotten because we have Republican lights pretending to be Democrats. We have Republican lights pretending to be progressives. And I'm sorry, if Elizabeth Warren is spending her time trying to get those people to endorse her, well, why am I to believe she's actually going to go against those people to fight for Medicare for all if elected president, to fight for free public college, to fight for a Green New Deal? You think Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and the entire Democratic Party, if Elizabeth Warren is elected president or Bernie Sanders is elected president, is just going to, come in with open arms. We were wrong. We love you. Medicare for all it is. No. That's not how oligarchy works. And Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and the Democratic Party establishment are servants of the oligarchy. So, to button it up, CNN is basically plucking people off of Twitter and plopping them on national television to prop up Elizabeth Warren.
I can't believe I was shocked because it's 2019 and this is the world that we live in. But I was shocked when Jordan sent me that text to look at what was going on, because it's not even hidden. That was a campaign ad for Warren. It's bizarre, and I don't know what to make of it. I think it's part of a wider effort to make Warren acceptable to middle of the road Democrats. I really think it's part of that.
Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statusquo.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statusquo.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.
Status quo.